Wow. Episode 14. I've got a very special guest today, Jay Cunning. And we're flipping the script today because I'm just introducing the show and now Jay's going to be interviewing me. It's about the Dark Soldier book. It's about, I suppose, our lifelong work. So I'm going to hand it all over to Jay.
Thank you.
Might play some records, we might not. We might play some tunes that have had an influence and an impact on either what I've done or what we've created or what it meant to me. But over to you, Jay. Nice.
Cool. Thank you
for coming over.
Listen, it's an honour to be on and be asked to do it, mate. It's been really intriguing to read the book and dig into your life story. You know, part of the reason why this is so interesting, right, is that, you know, there were fanzines and stuff around back in the day, but none of the big music magazines covered the hardcore into kind of jungle, and then obviously once it got big into drum and bass they covered it. So there's so many stories that are left untold. You know, you think of this mad melting pot of people and raves and communities and all these DJs and MCs and punters all got their own link into it, and now all those things are coming out. So yeah, it's an honour to kind of be here and dig into that. So I wanted to start off and think and ask you about that first musical connection, like when you heard something or you were in a situation where you connected with music. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was my dad and my mum. There was, like in the book, my dad had a lot of friends around. They used to play the guitar. My family were quite musical. On my mum's side, bit nuts, but she played the accordion and they would be playing the guitar. So there was music around. And you know, my dad introduced me to 8-track cartridge. My mum had 7 inches. Funny enough, I've got this little pile of records in my studio, and every Monday morning I do yoga, and I am on a Zoom with my teacher, and I go past my mum every Monday, and I look down and I go, oh, I've got to play those records this week. And then obviously you get caught up in life. So she was a big influence on me.
Yeah.
My family originally were from Mauritius, so there was Indian music in the house all the time.
Yeah. All
the old films. My mum, every Sunday we used to go up to the cinemas, and they used to take us up to the cinemas to watch all these early Bollywood movies, Amitabh Bachchan, and oh god, there were so many of them. And my mum used to play all the tunes at home. And then my dad was into rock and roll, the Beatles. My mum had like anything from Diana Ross to Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
To, you know, bits on Motown, Elvis Presley. It was just a lot of a melting pot of kind of soul, jazz and early dance music and reggae, Bob Marley. So that's how it all kind of started. But that one definitive, I had a few, but when I was growing up, I listened to some punk records because obviously the eras of at school. So that when I heard Sid Vicious and I heard the Clash, and then I heard the Police, and those were the early days. I mean, the very first tune, it was in my book. There was a band called Focus.
Yeah.
And they were like a hippie psychedelic. My uncle introduced me to that album.
Yeah.
Because he had a stack system, and I can remember it all had lights on it. I was only 8. I went round. I was like, "What the hell's this?" And then he said, "Farad, come over here," and he played the tunes, and I was like, "Wow!" And he gave me it on tape.
Yeah.
So I was able to go back. But a lot of my family, one of my uncles, he owned a second-hand UK First and Foremost, and they had electrical and electronic gear in there. So my dad came back and would always come back with things, and my first thing was a Grundig tape deck.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but it was just apparent that something was going to pop.
Yeah.
But and another time when it changed, when I first heard electronic music at a next level. Well, I was already listening to Depeche Mode, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, Alison Moyet. I was already listening to soul, reg, groove and jazz at the same time.
Yeah.
Because everything seemed to have a parallel. You know, you had that soul funk, and then you had what was going on, Duran Duran, Spandau Ballet, all those amazing bands. But when I heard I Feel Love, Donna Summer,
that's the one.
Patrick Cowley mix, and 15 minutes, and it kept going, and I was like, when's this tune going to end? It was a masterpiece. I was like, these tunes don't go on for this long, and it was 15 minutes. They played it on Radio 1 because I was a bit naughty when I was at school, and my dad was always forever grounding me, so I'd be rubbing cars down and doing gardening, growing potatoes, and because my grandfather comes from he was a fruit and veg guy.
Yeah.
So my old man, the way he used to discipline me, apart from the belt in his hand, was you're not going anywhere and you're going to have to clean the cars.
Work hard.
Yeah, work hard, and I was just... But I would say that music saved my life because it stopped me. Because I was angry when I was young, you know, like my mum and dad split up and I was just angry. So as a young, angry kid of born of the 60s, coming into the 80s, like a lot of divorced parents, there was a huge influx of divorces. So, but yeah, those tunes, you know, like Message in a Bottle, when I heard that for the first time, I was like, you know, that was kind of reggae, and it was white dudes playing reggae. So it was all new to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was obviously, there was only a few people of colour around me, and I hadn't found anything apart from what was being fed from either Radio Caroline, Tony Blackburn playing black music, and then later on Robbie Vincent on Radio 1. And then I'd go on to listen to Jeff Young and then Pete Tong and my mate on Radio Orwell, Buster Brooker, John Leach. These were people that I'd heard of, but they weren't within my realm, or I didn't think they were in my reach.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was elbowing my way through, as you do. But yeah, those were very important days, and just jumping out of my bedroom window, fully dressed, onto the ledge, onto the floor, and then running all the way up to go to a place called the Embassy Suite and catching the last hour with Dave Malone.
It's a great reading that story in the book was actually hilarious.
Thank you. I mean, Dave Malone, you know, these geezers, and he used to play tunes, you know, Set It Off, you know, like when I heard that, I was like, this, and when I heard Man Parish, bebop, hip hop, and the frequencies, and I suppose that is the connection of what you think, hang on a minute, why is this doing this to me? And it was the vibration of the tune.
Do you know what? It's also about when you first hear that music in a club, right? You hear it on radio and it's coming through these tinny speakers, or it's, you know, you're hearing what you're hearing, right? But it's when you actually connect to it in the club, you're like, oh, this is how it's intended to be experienced. So that must have been a whole new level of discovering that music for you as well.
Definitely. I think when I first started going to the Embassy Suite, the industry standard was the Citronic decks. Do you remember, like, they were in a case? And that was well before they'd got onto Quartz Digital Lock. That was the original setup. And then when they did get the Techniques in the club, which was Laristos, and I was still young then, super young, my dad bought me a Pioneer deck. One with a vari-speed pitch on it. One of the first early... Blimey, if I'd kept that deck, it'd be worth some dough now. Because that was one of their first original pitch desks with a kind of their own Concord needles. So I had one Garrard deck, but my dad was very supportive. Do you know what I mean? Like, he'd always bring back stuff. I'd made my own light box. And, oh, God. Like, well, you just think of where you came from and how we used to... Like, my dad used to let me go and set it up at my cousin's house, and I'd actually DJ with my own lights.
How old were you when this
I would have been about 14.
Yeah. But by now you've kind of got a record collection. You've got a few little records.
I'm starting to. Yeah, my cousin Shadek, all the 5-star loose ends, Michael Jackson, they were buying imports. My good friend Stephen Bain, love you, Steve. Like, from Clacton-on-Sea, graffiti artist. He's did and has done most of my artwork alongside Damon from Paper Graveyard. So it's a long history, Jay, of connections with people. We use the same people. Unfortunately, Damon died, and Damon was linked with Mickey Finn. And he used to do a lot of work for Mickey. He used to do a lot of work for me. He invented the Ram logo. He invented... Pez did the original dread with the tubes coming out of the head. And then, because... That's mad, because Jay Pender from Well Dance had set up an office, and these guys were working in the office, and then we were subcontracting to them to do our artwork, but it was all within the same place. And then Damien shot off and went and did his own thing, and then I went with him through Mickey. And I mean, just by the covers, you can see the art. It's a piece of art. You know, I've always been into art. I haven't got round to drawing or spraying yet, but I believe that's going to come.
I think that's important, you know, to look at, you know, back in the day, right, you know, if you look at sort of kind of where the 91, 92, there was a lot of white labels that were out there, you know, people were sampling heavy, and it was just, you know, you had to kind of keep that anonymous element to it. But when you had those labels that had invested in the artwork, you know, it really kind of meant something. You know, you'd walk into a record shop when you go, yeah, that's a Moving Shadow, that's a Dread, that's a this. You know, you just grab it because you just recognise what it was there. And I think it's kind of come around full cycle now. You know, there is a kind of vinyl resurgence, and it's really good to see the labels that are doing that are investing heavily. You know, they're getting Junior Tomlin to do artwork and all these kind of legends from back there to get that authenticity to it. Let's talk a little bit about where, you know, you've obviously established as a very young kid a huge musical influence from your family around you. You're getting involved in the equipment from your dad and the shops and stuff coming in. When is it you're kind of, because you actually got into DJing before, you know, the acid house and all the kind of old school stuff kind of kicked off. Let's talk about kind of how you got into that side of it, because that's quite interesting to me that, you know, you'd already kind of had a certain element of experience before you'd even reached into that.
I think I don't my stripes if you look at everybody who's been in this business for 20 or 30 years, I'm not the only one. But that's how we came up, Jay. And that's where we get our stripes from. And I'm not knocking the younger generation, but it's just too easy. You know, like there's no carrying boxes, there's no watching your peers. It's just, I could do that, and you're straight in. And actually, you're thrown in at the deep end. And your life expectancy is probably 3 years if you don't look after your career. And you're here, they're gone, and there's no depth to it. And I think all the people that I've managed to bring through is that experience of what I had. So I was a soul, rare groove and jazz DJ for 10 years. I was playing on the same circuit as Carl Cox. Ipswich, Cambridge, I was playing for Stu Banks. There was another geezer called Kenny Khan that I was doing soul nights for, who went on to do jungle parties. But, you know, Laristos in Colchester and Jimmy Dixon and these people were integral. Dave Malone, They gave us a platform to play. I was putting on parties at 16 at Woods Leisure Centre, and I didn't even have to mix properly then. I was just fading in and fading out, but I knew what I wanted to play, and I was booking DJs like Pogo, and that already grew me in good stead because I was playing that. The new music then was hip hop. And actually, when I watched, because Hank Shockley's a good friend of ours, he's, you know, and I watched the documentary yesterday of what they've just aired on the BBC. I think it was Prophets of Rage. It's and it just tells you the story of how the music came together, how sampling came together. And probably that was when I was in New York and I met him, and this guy said to me, "Yo, this is Hank from PE," and I was like, "PE?" I was like, PE? And then my head, it was like a typewriter. Ding! Fall. Wake up. And then I was like, what? PE? And then I just heard that, brothers and sisters, I don't know what the world is coming to. And I turned around and he went, yo, I got some of your records, man. And I was looking at him thinking, what? Like, I was buying
Must
your
have been really surreal, right?
It was. And then we went out for breakfast and we've become very good friends. And I mean, Public Enemy knows what I do. I mean, that was revolutionary. But growing up in a tough environment, racist environment, where there had been no integration as of yet until the 80s and the 90s came, that was an amazing time to be growing up. I wouldn't actually, it's funny because Dave in my book says to me right at the end of the book, Ray, would you change anything? And I actually went, no, I wouldn't, because that learning curve and that oppression, because those tunes wouldn't have been made. That soul, funk, rare groove, jazz, acid jazz revolution would have never happened.
Yeah.
And electronic music would have never happened. Independency would have never happened. And I guess it's a reflection of when you were talking about the labels and the identity. That young guy who just passed away, Jamal R.I.P., who brought up the
SBTV.
SBTV. So see something like him, right? I knew of his work, but I didn't know exactly who he was until they shone a light on him. But look at what the legacy's left, and it's true. What he quoted was, we don't live forever, but the plan is to build something that does.
Yeah, that was when I saw that, I was like, wow.
And when I heard that, I was like, what? Well, like, he is just after the Wileys and the Dizzies, and that's what we've tried to do as independent people that love black music. And it doesn't matter whether you're white or black or brown, or to me, it's for the love of that cultural music that takes reggae, that takes techno, that takes hip hop. Because if you look at what Public Enemy were doing, they were sampling everyone. It didn't really matter. But what they were doing was pushing that sound. I mean, the first time you heard that kettle, you was like, what is this? Why does this sound so hard and so dark, but yet so soulful? And that was what I built my philosophy on music, was like, it's going to be in your face when you're going to hear it, and you're going to know you're going to hear it. And that's what the legacy I wanted to pass on of what I'd learned from the likes of Bobby Bird, James Brown, Lynn Collins, sampling all of them and going, well, this music has to carry on.
And that's interesting you say that, because one of the things that's really interesting, reading through your life stories, that you always stuck to your guns. You went against the grain. There was that dread sound, something that you'd built up, you'd created, you'd nurtured it. And even when the dynamics of the scene had moved, you're like, no, I know what my path is. And actually, it is interesting because now it has come back round. And, you talk about the Serums and the Blade Runners that, took that original kind of those rough breaks, those bass lines, and it's kind of come round full circle. I read that and I thought about the dubstep scene. Something becomes big overnight, but as the famous saying goes, right, it took me 10 years to become an overnight success, right? And it's about sticking to your guns and keeping with it. The reason why I mention that, I think that mixed with just reading about the type of kind of character that you are, how resilient you are, how self-aware you are, how honest you are with your, you talk about, I'm not the golden child anymore. I'm not the new kid on the block. That's long gone. But that realisation, I think, is why you're still standing here today, right?
Yeah, I think. Well, there's several angles to that. I was speaking to a good friend of mine. You see, and how you were talking earlier on is so right, because there are so many of us that are connected. You might not even know that connection. I might never speak about that connection because it's just like it happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. It might have happened 5 or 10 years ago. But it's the input that you have and that impression that you leave, because you've got to hand it over. And I'm not scared of that. And I was speaking to Terry T, and he was like, what I love about you, Ray? You're not scared to bring the next one in. And to me, it's like, if you want this thing to evolve, you've got to sow seeds. Now, some of them seeds don't come back, and that's fine. And some do. Some you get burnt. I got burnt recently. I was shocked how burnt I got. But I phoned one of my friends, and I reasoned with him. And he was like a guru, and he's like, and he was in the scene deep. He knows how it is, and he went, Ray, it's not about loyalty, it's about ego. And I've never been about that. I'm humble. I love music. I wake up. I've given my life, dedicated my life to music, and that's not going to change, because I'm passionate about it. But what I wanted to do was leave a legacy that people, and we've been so fortunate. I mean, Carl Cox did a something on Radio 1 a little while ago, and my mate rang me up and went, no, he's just quoted you, like proper talking about you, going, oh, I know, I've known Ray for years. We were on the same circuit. We were playing at Hollywood's in Ipswich together, and I was playing for the Banks, Stuart Banks and his brother Dave Banks, sadly passed away. But their history goes so deep. You know, I was booking Trevor Fung, Colin at BCM, we you know, in the house days. So I was lucky to be have a career in soul, rare groove and jazz, then move on to acid house, as all of my peers did, because Fab, Groove, Frost, Kenny, Randall, Mickey, everybody came from that journey, and we all kind of met in London, and then it was like, right. And when I did my my testimonials, I mean, on some of the interviews, I ended up in tears because I was emotional, because as men, we don't really talk about it, and we just go forward, you know. And it was really touching, you know, some of the things that Frost and Brian said, some of the things that Fabio and Groove, Mickey, Darren, everybody in the book, you know. And I was like, you know, Goldie, and I was like, shit, man, we did a lot. We have done but it's only when you look back. And I also wanted to set the record straight from our point of view. Is I wanted to tell the story because I'd been in the shop. We were integral to a lot of people's gateways, and I thought huge
community hubs there.
You know, Bookham said like on one of the testimonials, he said he gave me some amazing props. He was like, if it wasn't for you, we might not even be doing what we're doing, because there was a point where I was putting the same records away, everything that, because Pete Tong would get one, Paul Oakenfold, Carl Cox, there was like your top 10, and then all my people, and I'd make sure that they'd get a copy as well, because I'd get extra copies. So we were getting the tunes at the same time. We were playing actively out Astoria, you know, at these 88 places, and I just wanted to
that's an
kick
amazing...
the doors down. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are people, and that was my duty, because I had access. And if I was going to have access, then I would, you know. And I had Nookie around me, I had my mate Pedro around me, and it was just, you know, it was just a great time to be alive. You know,
to use your powers for good.
Huh?
To use your powers for good and make sure.
You know, like, what you gonna do? You can, it's my record, I'm gonna hold on to this. I'd give Ryder, you know, Kenny was like, Ray, I'm not leaving here without this tune, you know. And that was Silly Games, Arthur Bacon. I went, you know what, take it. He's still got that record today.
Wow.
And, you know, and like Bookham said, we have such an unbreakable, lovable brother and sisterhood that nobody could ever take that away from us. That we would go to a different country and buy each other food and sit down and talk and smoke and reason and play each other's music. You know, like, and I would specifically make music for Fabio and Ryder or Bookham and give them something different. And then I would give the bangers to Randall and Mickey and Kenny and Randall and Frost and B. They were my people. They were the guys that broke me. And you never bite the hand that feeds. And you always go back and help them. And I think it changed when producers want to be DJs. I'm a DJ. I'm a producer second of all. That my art form is, you can give me 2 records in the morning and I can mix.
But this is the funny thing. If you look at your history, you think you're a producer first. You've done so much, right?
It would seem that way.
Then when you understand your history and where you came from, you now see that balance. Because actually, you know, it was, I wouldn't say it was rare, but it was kind of uncommon in that kind of sort of early 90s period that you'd have someone that would produce and be a DJ. You know, they were kind of separate roles, really.
100%.
Now, today, you know, it's integral. You have to be doing both in order to, you know, work through.
But the blueprint hadn't been set, so we already were setting the blueprint. And actually, do you remember Jelly Bean? You remember that tune, A Dog and a Donut? Dun, 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 dun. What a tune! So he went, DJs are going to be the producers of the future, because we're going to know what to play on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Because we're taking the old, we're embracing the new,
Yeah.
and this is us.
Yeah.
And that was what was born out of acid house,
Yeah.
soul, rare groove, and jazz was jungle D&B. And for the first time, as young, oppressed working class generation, whether you was black, white, brown, Chinese, we didn't give a shit. If the tune was good, we were running it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we were able to contribute
Yeah.
to what was going on. You
Yeah.
know? And people like Trace and Third Party and Production House and all of these influences were coming in, and I was right in the hub. I was
Yeah.
like, and I strategically placed myself, because I had to go through Buster Brooker, who then got me a job at City Sounds, and then when they sacked me, I'd go to Black Market.
Yeah.
And then I was at City Sounds for 4 or 5 years, and then I went to Black Market for 19 years.
What year was that you went into Black Market?
91.
Right.
No, sorry, 92, because 93, 92, 93 I went to Black Market, because Christmas of 93 I made Renegade Terrorist, and it didn't come out till 94.
Right, yeah.
But I was already in Black Market, because I'd already done the Chimes remix.
Yeah.
Came out for Tongi, that was
Yeah.
92.
Yeah.
So 93 was my transition going into
Yeah.
Black Market Records.
Let's talk about the Chime remix, because obviously that was the first kind of production that you did, and obviously did phenomenally well. Talk us about, obviously at this stage you're a tried and tested DJ, right? You know your business, you know how to go to a club, you know how to turn it inside out. The production, what started the interest for you in the production side?
This is nuts, actually, because that connection again goes to Rebel MC. So as I was learning now a different genre of music, and I was playing in London, working in London, getting the tunes, and I was playing at Astoria, and I got my break at Astoria through Carl Pearson and Dave. And actually it was Alex P that found me in my mate's house, nuts, in Colchester. Man's randomly listening to what I'm doing. And then him and James were like, you need to come to London. And I missed, my friend Tracy was a hairdresser, I missed going to Crazy Larry's, and the following week they'd moved, and I went to Busby's, and I played there. Carl Cox was downstairs, I was upstairs, and everybody came upstairs to play, because I just played all the tunes that everyone wanted to hear.
What year was this? This was...
This 89.
Right.
So, but you see, because I'd been playing regularly and I was schooled up, and I listened to this Chimes thing, and I was like, you know what? I could put a beat behind this, and I think I can do a raw version of it. Now, at the time, I was looking after Kevin Saunderson. Everyone was coming in from Transmat, all the Detroit techno guys. Everyone would be passing City Sounds.
Yeah.
So Rebel MC was working at Noisegate Studios in Denmark Street, which is just round the corner from me. And I met Cole Tough Enough Brown.
Right,
he was DJing on the same circuit as me. And then he said to me, Ray, you need to come in the studio. So I started with Cole. Then I got friendly with a young guy engineer called Michael, who sadly died. Michael was my first engineer. Mm-hmm. And I'd done a few things prior to that, but they were just experimental. And then it was, then I'd stroke up a relationship with Acid Aston.
Yeah.
So, and who was from, he was from Blab's Posse.
Yeah, freestylers wouldn't go on to do it.
So when I did that, and I took the beat, and then I took the tune, and I made it quite dark, and then I gave Ryder his first dub plate, and he championed the tune.
Yeah.
He played it everywhere. He started his set with it. So, and that really did put me on the map. And they used to call me Bonehead because they didn't know what this music was.
Yeah.
They were witnessing. It wouldn't be until Pete Tong signs Goldie.
Yeah.
you know, the album that a few years later we'll come to that. But but that remix, I did it. I gave it to Ryder, and he single-handedly championed that tune. Like everywhere he went, he played that tune, and from him playing that tune, Pete Tong rang me up, and Dave, who used to work in there, went, "Oh, Ray, lively." Tongy's on the phone, bonehead, and I was only young, so I pick up the phone, and he said, "All right, Ray," and I said, "Yeah," and he was always. Tongy could see things before they'd happened.
Yeah,
he was an A&R guy.
Yeah.
And he just said, "Look, we're going to give you some money, and I'm going to sign that remix that you've done, and I'm going to put it out on vinyl."
Yeah.
And I went, "What?" And he went, "Yeah." And then I put down the phone, and I'd got my first remix on FFRR, just out of, you know. And then I just thought to myself, like. But you see, you don't really notice your achievements until you look back.
Right.
And that would be the green light for people like Floyd Dice from Production House, who would then come and find me and go, "See that tune? We want some of that."
Yeah.
This is what... And don't forget, this is jungle techno. This is pre-jungle, but with the breaks and the 4th floor.
Yeah.
And then I went on to pretty much remix everyone's Shades of Rhythm, Moby. I can't even. Sometimes I go on my Discogs and I go, "Wow, it's." But it was always I want to do more. It wasn't, you know. And then the golden years came along, and everything I touched with that relationship with Nookie, turned to gold. And but I was always looking for the next sound. You know, like pushing the sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I suppose, that. There, if I look back now and I think about it, I think, wow, that was a moment.
Well, should we ever listen to it?
Yeah, come on,
let's
do that.
I've got it queued up, ready to go. Like it's like I knew it was going to happen. And the actual original record as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether they liked it or not, but I guess they were embracing the new kids on the block as you do.
Got to keep the fire burning, keep my true and turning.
So really, production house must have got paid for that, because I just realised that's their sample, right? That's Baby D.
Yes, Baby D. Yeah.
But then again, I suppose that would become my signature of using soulful tunes, but connecting so people could sing along, but it could have that flip, because it flips halfway through, doesn't it? Which is nuts. I haven't listened to this for about 10 years. It's nuts. But when I used to play this tune in Astoria, because I used to start it halfway through, and that sound that you heard at the beginning, that's when it would come in with that, and it would go nuts. So just listening to the breaks and that now, it seems old but new. Does that make sense? It's crazy.
So when you're making this, what's going through your head as you're sitting in the studio? Because I'm assuming some of it's like a little bit alien. It's like...
No, because I was really switched on as I was in there. I wouldn't go into anything that if I was unprepared. I'd have my samples, I'd be prepared, because you were paying for studio time.
So no time to waste.
No, exactly. I love this bit coming, because it just goes dark, you see. But it was my way in. Do you know what I mean? It was my way in of getting stuff done, and I guess it was here comes the dirtiness now, and now you know it's going to get dirty.
It's weird. I'm getting reminded of like Armageddon, like the News and 10, and that bit comes in, just that raw, filthy bass.
I mean, you know, like my heroes, Kevin Saunderson taught us a lot, you know, pushing those boundaries. And really, we were just youngsters, you know. but this would have an influence. And do you know what? I was so gassed a couple of weeks ago. I got asked to be part of a documentary, which is going to be my contribution to Black British cultural music in this country.
Amazing.
And I was so happy. And I said to my mate Floyd, and he went, "It's about time, innit?" But I was like, I don't think you realise sometimes what you've done because you're pushing forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and we're still breaking through, and it's a struggle. It still is a struggle.
Yeah.
People don't book you. People, you know, it's not easy, the music business.
Yeah.
But I'm thick-skinned, and even in the acting game, going into that, you could tell me no how many times you want to tell me no. In my setup, in my psyche, in my ethos, there is no such word as no.
Yeah.
Because I'm a survivor.
You just haven't heard the yes yet.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes I expect the no. So when I do get a it's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But that's how you have to build yourself, because the music business will chew you up and spit you out, and it's turbulent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've got to be thick-skinned, and you can't worry about what the next man's doing.
Next one.
You can't worry about what the next man's doing. You've got to make your own way, and you've got to let the universe draw its energy towards you.
Yeah.
And that's what I've believed in. The longer it's gone on, the more spiritual I've got.
Yeah.
The less angry I've become.
Yeah.
Some of it was in my music.
Yeah.
I guess that was the light and the dark, the soul and the darkness. But just listening to that now, it takes me back to where I started, and when actually that's what our blueprint was. It was the soulful side of what I've had, and I've had an amazing career. Like, I wouldn't change it. I'm on my 30th album.
Yeah.
Independently. And
it's almost more than one a year.
Well, I just my work is everything, and my work is very prolific, and I embrace technology, and it's mad because when my dad passed away, 2012 is when I made I'm Renegade, and I engineered the whole album, and I sent it to him, and he said some rude words, and he went, "I can't believe it." He goes, "You are just engineering now, and you're I was in my 40s," and he was like, "Wow, like for you to embrace that now." And I engineer myself now.
Yeah.
But for so many years, I was waiting on other people, and it got frustrating because I just wanted. I'm like, I want to do it now.
Yeah.
But I've had some great teachers, you know, Aston, Lemon D, Cole, Tough Brown, Dillinger. They've all
Nookie as well.
Yeah, Nookie, like nearly 20 years with him.
Yeah.
You know, and what a partnership.
Yeah.
You know. Always.
And that's, that was I was quite shocked by that because I got to that bit and I was like, wow, this is the first project that you owned, and there must have been a real sense of pride being able to know that you've completed the full creative engineering mix down, the full kind of process to it. But if you look prior to that, how much music you put out, you've obviously worked with some amazing people, had that creative direction to be able to be...
Pete Parsons as well,
yeah.
Aston... Oh, the list is, and I mean, and I've learnt my craft, I've dug in deep, and Blade Runner, and Nookie, when I finally decided that I was going to engineer myself, and I suppose that's how I threw myself in. I was like, right, I'm going to make an album, I'm going to mix it down, I'm going to make it, and there was a really lovely comment on social media, I think it was on YouTube, a guy had got the whole album, mixed it together and then put it up there, because I wasn't so prolific on social media. It was I was still cutting dub plates and trying to be one of the last ones to play records, and I just didn't want to give up. I was just like one of the last soldiers to keep going along with Nicky. And he put up some status, and then he put up, I'd heard along the way that Ray Keefe had lost his way. I don't think so. And he said, this is a tribute to Ray. What an amazing album.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of pain in that album, because I'd kind of finished it halfway, and then and then my dad passed away. I just finished the album, I think, and that's when I dedicated it to him. And that was a tough time. You know, it's tough when you lose people that you love. And now I'm the elder. And I was like, I don't want to be the elder. I've got more questions. You know, sadly, last year, my uncle passed away and my cousin passed away. And I went to my auntie's house, and I was the only one wearing a Muslim beanie. And I was like, how come you lot not wearing no hats? And they went, Uncle, you're the oldest one. I was like, what? I said, nah, mate, this can't be happening. Like, I've got questions.
Yeah.
But suddenly, you're kind of left there, and now you're the one that's got to find your way. Does that make sense?
Do you know what? I'm pretty sure the elders before you also had questions, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm lucky. I've got a great set of friends around me, male and female. I love them very dearly, and they have kept me on an amazing path all through when I had my episode. And just, you know, you got to believe in yourself.
Do you know what? It was really interesting reading the book because every other chapter is current. So you're talking about a period in your time, then you're talking about when you're writing the book, then the next chapter. And I've never read anything like that, but it actually really made it felt like you were with you while you were reading it, because
big up Dave Jenkins, my co-writer.
I've been a good friend of mine for 20 years, an absolute legend. Dave, big up.
So I mean, we toed and froed a little bit, as two people would do in a marriage or any type of intense relationship. We cried together, we laughed together. There was some real deep moments between him and I, which were amazing, and he really does know me. And this is what we wanted to do, Jay. We wanted to leave our legacy and something that was current. It was a unique time to be, and in 10, 20 years' time, when our kids have had kids, they'll be like, Dad, what, Granddad was in a pandemic and you was with him? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when we sat down, and before we even put pen to paper, because I chased him a few times, he'd had a bit of bad luck. And I was like, Dave, we need to do this, and this can be all good for both of us, and this is going to be amazing. And we sat down and we curated what this book was going to be about.
Right.
And we went, strategically, how are we going to write this? And we went, right, it's going to be three things. It's going to be a bibliography of jungle drum and bass and our work. So it would have timelines. It would, and everybody that's read it has said to me, "Oh my God, I remember that. Oh my God, I remember that. Oh my God, I remember that." And if you had been born in the '60s, that was part and parcel of what we wanted to do. We also wanted to have a diary of COVID, so we didn't. So we knew what it felt like, and that was documented as well. And also, I wanted to tell the story of all the people that may not necessarily write their book themselves, but they are documented for the rest of their lives in something that it's a legacy of, that it's not just ours, because of the testimonials and the people that are in it. They are very, very important and integral, either shaping my career, helping my career, or helping the scene. And that's what we set out to do. So it was that was the angle. And because I'd worked with so many people, and I'd A&R'd so many people and signed so many people to majors, and then I was, I ran Best of British. I ran Atmosphere, bought it from Jay, another Jay, bless Jay Frenzik. I learned a lot of new skills within the music business scene, and it was great. Nothing lasts forever. But I'm glad we did the best we could at the time, and the book was very important that it was, and also a personal. The full thing that it was a personal growth. Of surviving. And how you change. And how things. Listen, let's not get it twisted. If you look at real life now, we have an epidemic of crack cocaine, heroin, drugs on the street. Our young, black, Asian, people of colour, young white guys stabbing each other because it's all down into the streets of this is kind of cool to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it isn't. And further down the line, this has now given me, as I've watched my peers like Goldie, like even, you know, the likes of Billy Bunter, Frost, all writing books. And now I'm making a documentary.
Yeah.
Soon come, by the way, called Dread at the Controls.
Nice.
And I'm making films. I
Yeah.
want to make films. I want to
Yeah,
direct. I want to produce. I've directed a few videos already.
Yeah.
But I'm ready, Jay. I'm
Nice.
like, this has just gone, this has given me the green light. And we self-funded all of this.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't beg, borrow or steal. I've got a great team around me
Yeah.
that believe in what I do.
Yeah.
Big up Straight Six, Gareth, I love you, bruv. Like, these guys have made us independent businessmen.
Yeah.
And have helped curate that. Laura, who works for us now, I've got Laura who takes care of all the metadata. She runs the label for us. So we're an independent label,
Yeah.
and we want to put something back into the community. And I want to help undo the darkness that's out there in some shape or form.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring new talent through, and the book was that elevation to do that. And do you know what? I've had so much love, so many personal messages where people have really written to me and said, look, this is exactly that happened to me.
Yeah.
Or my mum died and
Yeah.
my brother, you know, committed suicide. And thank you for putting it out there.
Yeah.
Because it is a sensitive subject. It is, and men don't always show their feelings, but I've done a lot of work on myself, you know, like
Yeah.
I've been to Al-Anon, I've done cognitive behaviour, I've done
Yeah.
neuro-linguistic programming. I don't take, you know, I'm drug free.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I train 5 days a week. I'm in tune and I meditate, and I want to be a better version of myself. You
Yeah.
know? And sometimes I'm not. You
Yeah.
know, like some days I wake up, I'm vexed, I'm angry, whatever. But I find a way out to not succumb to that darkness. I've had some amazing males and females around me, you know, telling me wait until the dark clouds pass, because we all go through it.
Yeah,
Jeff.
of course. Yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
especially in these times, right?
It's
They've
tough.
been
It's tough,
unprecedented,
yeah.
right?
And the book was like, if little old me from Essex can do it,
Yeah.
then you can do it.
How did you feel when you first saw that copy of the book?
I actually cried. I couldn't stop crying. And actually, I brought my tissues just in case I have had a moment, because I didn't know how I would feel about this.
Yeah.
But my daughter, Mia, she was at home with her cousin, Kaylee, and the book arrived, and I was so shocked.
Right.
I was like, ding dong, and then I was like, and then my dog Bumble was barking, and she's a female dog, but she barks like a male dog.
Yeah.
She was going nuts, and I was like, hang on a minute. And then I took this thing out, and then I went, and it was in the shape of a book. Well, it was in the shape of a square parcel, and I thought, this is a bit odd, like an odd looking
Yeah.
parcel. And then as I unwrapped it, I thought, oh shit, this is the book. And then I held the book. And then my daughter's name's Boo Boo, and she works from home, and I went, Boo. They were both working from home, and I went, Boo Boo, I think the book's just arrived. And she went, what? And I went, it's here. And she went, what? And then I gave her the book, and then I can't remember if I read it. Or, no, I said, you better read it. And then she read it with Kaylee listening, and we were all crying. And then I went upstairs and I'd done a post because I was so shocked, because it was. Listen, you never know. Even a tune, like you never know. Listen, I make a tune, and that book, me and Dave were the only ones that read it. We read it. So we put the book together through Zoom, and then we were writing chapters.
Yeah.
Then I'd review all the chapters as they, some of the bits, and then basically the whole book came back. Then we had to read the book again, and then recorrect everything chapter by chapter. So it's nuts, like you're reading what's going on. Also, what we wanted, there was two things actually. Carl Tough Enough Brown's a really good friend of mine, and he was like, Ray, don't put no blasphemy in the book, you know. And I was like, do you know what? That's a really good thing, because even though we're from the streets and we're doing what we're doing, I wanted to have something that would stand the test of time, but be me if you were listening to it. Because if you know what I sound like when you read the book, you're like raising your head. This geezer's in my head right now.
I kept saying "mans" all the time in my head. I'm like, I never say that, and I keep thinking that.
Yeah, but there's some of it that is like that's 100% Ray. That's definitely not Dave. and we wanted to make that distinction, but I thought it was very important for my kids. And also, I'm not the person I was. You know, I've grown up. I've you know, you can't fight the system. You know what I mean? You have to work with the system.
Yeah.
And if you don't work with the system, then they're going to blow you out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and you've got there's a way of doing things, but doing things with God's good grace, and that's how I've learned.
Yeah.
You know, can't go this way, you go that way. This door's not opening, open that door.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I've tried to bring my people with me. I've still got the same friends. Some of them we've parted because we're just not the same, and you grow out and they grow out of you.
Yeah.
But that it was important to do something that people could. And it's not just my story. This is the story from next door. This is people that happens in everyday life. They have things happen to them, and I think there's a thing is when you look at someone that's in the public eye, or a musician or an actor, you forget what did it cost them to get there. And if you read the book, and if you read most biographies, it's a turbulent life that keeps you going. You have great tragedy, and everything happens so bloody quick. Every 2 years there was change. Something was happening.
Yeah.
You know, and there's sometimes I look at it and I think, how did I get through that? You know, like wow. You know,
it's through adversity, and I think, you know, it's clear throughout the book, you know, there is some bad stuff that has happened, but you've carved a way around it and gone, right, you know, I'll take part of that, I'll bring it on board, but I'm going to keep still pushing forwards. And you can't, you know, 30 plus years later you're still doing it, and I think that's one of the only ways you can do that, right? You know, each experience,
you've got to love what you do. I've loved it when I've had no money. I've loved it when I've had money. I've never fallen out with it, and it's always been there for me. And if I go in a dark place, I go in the studio and I might make a dark tune, and you know, I was talking to one of my good friends. I'm working with a creative team. I want to big up Luke, and I want to big up Danielle. They're on my creative team for film, TV, documentaries. And you know, the gateway to hardcore drugs, I guess, is smoking weed. And the gateway out is smoking weed. It's whether you can have balance. Do you know what I mean? Some of my friends do it really well. But it's just not for me, you know. And what I'm saying to you is, there's a lot of darkness that's bestowed upon people, you know, working class people, middle class people, because addiction is real, you know, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's pills, whether it's whatever, but it's whether you can find that light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what I'm about. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't change everyone, and somebody wants to have to change.
Of course.
You know, you've got to want to do that. And I think as long as there's enough of us out there that have had a turbulent lifestyle and got through adversity and can keep going, be positive. I think that will hopefully open the doors for other people. Because they look at it and go, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the inspirational side of it, right? I want to kind of go back a little bit to like that early 90s, that kind of sort of pre-jungle era, because that sort of acid house, the kind of bleep, breakbeat, into hardcore, into jungle, it all happened at such breakneck speed. You know, 91 to 93, it just went boom. Tempo went from 125 up to 160, 170 if you're on Ibiza Records, and Noise Factory was pushing up that tempo. What's What's your thought process about how that kind of music is evolving, and what are you seeing when you're playing in clubs as to how that is shaping and influencing what you're doing as a producer? And
I think a lot of people get it. Let's be specific here, very, very specific. If there was no Land of Oz, and if there was no Spectrum, and if there was no Rage, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
Sure, 100%.
Simple.
Yeah.
Colin Hudd, Favour, Eva Lady Richards, Mr. C, Kid Bachelor, Oakenfold, Cole Cox, Paul Trouble Anderson, Fabio and Groove Rider. Obviously, Fabio and Groove Rider were the new kids on the block coming in, but they were there at the same time.
Yeah.
But they were the new kids that were breaking through. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be doing what we were doing.
Those were the guys that were introducing the breakbeats into that sound.
So one of the tunes that changed my life when I heard it and I went nuts, and I still go nuts, is the Moody Boys' Funky Zulu. Went dun 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 dun. Oh my God. And even the breaks and the way it comes in. And then there was another tune called Ulysses by Eva Lady Richards, and I used to play that. Ryder used to play that, and it's just a kick and a snare.
Yeah.
But it had that little reggae bit in it, and then it just used to have this high pitched bass line that was played, which was a sine wave going up and down the keyboard.
Yeah.
But it was a reggae influence. Let me tell you something. When I played that tune and Ryder played that tune in the dance, the ghetto people would know that you were signalling them.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was what it was, Jay.
Yeah,
I'm giving you signal right now.
Yeah,
Are you listening to this? Because I'm giving you signal, because I know what you know. And that's when I played Telepathy. And look at the smile on my face, because I've got goosebumps right now, because that is everything to me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like when I play Rebel Without a Cause, or when I play you know, Eric B and Rakim, I Got Soul. When I play Lisa Stansfield, Love Is a Big Thing, when she was in a band before she was even Lisa Stansfield, and Melissa Morgan's Fool's Paradise, or Maceo and the Max, or any of those tunes, that's what it does to me.
Yeah.
Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. That's How I'm Living. You know, these were the early things that were coming in. It's like, hang on a minute, can we let the break beat go? And really, a guy called Gerald, 27 Gun Bad Boy, next level.
Yeah. I mean, it was
King of the Jungle.
2 years ahead, way ahead of its time.
And Fabio and Groove Rider played that. They used to play tunes on a 45. Sorry, I'm getting hot now. Yeah. They used to play tunes on a 45, stuff that we used to have on +8. And these were integral moments of when you look back, and all of these people would be like, you know, there's so many DJs. You know, I think I quote Paul Trouble Anderson when I played at Lime Nights, and he played some tune, Slam Slam, Move Your Body to the Floor, dun 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 dun. And I'd played for 2 hours, and I had that place up. He played one tune, and the whole place. That's happened to me twice in my career, actually, because Mickey Finn did it to me as well. I love Mickey, but he knows the story that I'm going to tell in a minute. But I played that tune, and then he looked back at me, right, and he went, Ray Keefe, you're a bad boy, yeah, but me a bad man still. And he just went back on the controls. But he was the type of guy that I would ask him what the tune was, like Colin Hudd would tell me. He would tell Mickey Finn. And Mickey done it to me years later, 93, 94. I was playing at Amnesia House, and I came off, and there was a little kind of clap and roar, and Mickey went on, and it was like, it was like Brazil scored a goal. I was like, I need to climb under a rock. Like, make some noise for a man like Mickey Finn. And I was still pulling him up to that on that day, but he was like, he was one of the original kings of the North. You know, him, Fantasy, Top Buzz, Fab, Groove. You know, Doc Scott, Bassman, Lenny. These guys, you know, they were playing at very big parties. And we were all on the same lineup. Carl was on the same lineup. It's not until kind of 93, 94 came that there was that clear split, that it was just like, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We've graduated. We're going to
Yeah.
roll with this.
Yeah. You
know, it's funny. Just before lockdown, me and Ryder were out somewhere, I can't remember, and I just finished playing. He'd finished playing, and he looked at me and he went, "It wasn't supposed to last this long, you know, mate, but we're just rolling out that wave." And we've been friends. You know, I've been friends with these dudes for like. You know, I still put on parties and they come and play and we're all in the pot together, and I love that they would come and do that for me, because, you know, we've now learned how to make our business viable.
Yeah.
It was all run out the back of a car and
Yeah.
off of a mobile phone.
Yeah.
And it's like, can I leave my day job now? Maybe. And I had always worked through the day. You know, I was a grafter. I worked at Black Market. I worked at City Sounds because I had a family to provide for. And I guess I've just dedicated that. You know, I don't know anything else, Jay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Be good
I'm
at
just a
something,
grafter.
stick with it, right?
Yeah, and it was funny. I was talking to Floyd the other day because he put me on, because that's the first time I'd heard that you about. I was aware of what you were doing, but when you loved that tune, and I think you put it in your top 10, and then loads of people were like, "Mate, I need to listen to this tune." And then Chris rang me and was like, "Mate, this tune's a banger, Ray." I was like, "Does anyone like it?" And I was like, "Oh, wicked." I'm
going to see if I can dig it out while you're talking about it.
Because it's not out yet, is it?
No, it's not. It's your remix of Ace and Thriller. So this is amazing.
I'm a big fan of his. You see, like those guys. When I heard "Trip to the Moon," I don't know if I'm allowed to say no. Because anyway. Yeah, I'm doing some more production for those guys, but he's one of the early guys that I listened to. You know, just like LFO. You know, like when I first heard that, and when I first heard Nightmares on Wax. I mean, what a tune, Dexterous. What, like that? Certain tunes they just mash me up. Like SMF Guillotine. I mean, I was fortunate enough to remix that, but I mean, I'm a fan. People don't forget, I'm still a fan of music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really important to me. But yeah, play it.
I'm going. So this is Asen. So Asen, we all know Asen, Trip to the Moon, part 1, 2, 3, Close Your Eyes, did some amazing stuff on Production House back in the day. And then, you know, took a bit of a hiatus, went into his film stuff, and then came back. I think it was about 3, maybe 4 years ago. He did a couple of releases, and Thriller was one of them, which is an amazing tune. Ray has done this mix. You played a clip of it, and you put it on your Instagram, and I went, I need that tune now. And I got straight on to Chris. Chris, he said, "Look, I haven't got the finished version of it yet." I said, "Chris, you know what to do. As soon as you get that tune, you need to give
send it over."
Because I think also as well, what really surprised me, what's the word? Obviously, you'd progressed and you'd led this whole kind of like 130 breakbeat hardcore into jungle, into drum and bass, more on that kind of dread jungle type sound. And this had dropped the tempo a lot for what you've done. I think it's at 148, 140, 149. So I was...
Yeah, but SS said it the other, like when he was doing the testimonial. Listen, we've got that sprinkle of magic sauce or magic gold dust.
Yeah.
And don't let me have to go old school, because if I go back, I'm gonna completely terrorise it. And that's what I did, because it's where I'm from. But what I'm saying is I've evolved. But I can always go back. And now and again it's nice. I see what everyone's doing, and I thought, you know what? Let me just go back, do this thing, and then go about my business.
Well,
thank you very much.
Right, here we go.
That was. When they sent the samples, I was like, yeah, I can work with this. Listen, when I was remixing in '94, this is how easy it was for me. I was like, yeah, I can do that. Because I can already hear it, what I want to do to it. You know? See, that's that little reverse thing, that's my tribute to SS and that's Formation, because that's part of me, do you know what I mean? I remixed them A2, do you know what I mean? And it's hot. It's jungle techno to me. I was like, yeah, you know.
It must have kind of brought up some, you know, emotions and memories of that era.
Well, I guess it was like, you know what? This is what I would have been doing it with Gavin at 150. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just raw. I like it raw. I like it so. I did something for Moondance as well, and that I don't know if you got that.
I've got a few bits and pieces from there. Yeah.
So I did a tune called Bad Boy, and it sounds like it's from that era.
Nice.
He said to me, Ray, we've had the most streams on that tune. I was like, wicked. But that's why I did the 21st century jungle is
Right, yeah.
Is so I can still have my roots. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, you literally were the kind of king of remixes in that era. Like just, it's
I was the golden boy at that point.
It's that bit.
But you see, that's my techno and hardcore.
Yeah.
88, 89. For me, that's where we're from.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, I just knew when I heard them sounds, I went, yeah, I can test this out because it gives me a chance. And I know I've been to them hardcore raves watching Billy Bunter before I played, and they were playing all of this type of stuff. You know what I mean? So all the original hardcore geezers from back in the day that used to play on slamming vinyl, this is for them. You know what I mean?
There's a big resurgence of like authentic hardcore sounding music from 91 to 93ish, and also jungle drum and bass from around the sort of 94 to 96. I'm going to send you a few bits and pieces. It's amazing to hear that people have taken that influence and are writing stuff at 160.
So even this
is again that light and dark balance, right?
That's the euphoric kind of, because everyone was back out their nut, weren't they? It's like, and this reminds me of Paradise, or when I've done this, it's like they're going to go nuts for this, because when they hit that, and especially like Asen, he's a producer that I look at and I go, wow, how far ahead he was, like Production House. That they were doing stuff, and I've never met him, and it's really weird that I'm remixing him stuff and we've never had a conversation, only through Chris. But it will be amazing when we all start to play together. I think they've got some nights planned and stuff.
Yeah, indeed.
So, but it's nice to be with nice people. Do you know what I mean? Like, Chris is a really lovely guy. The energy's good. Nookie's with him. He's doing some stuff. Nookie just sent me a remix of Sweet Sensation. I don't know if I even mention that right now, but if someone plays it, sends it to me, I'm going to play it. So, but I'm blessed, you know, and I guess what I would like to do is even if I could just be slightly like him, is like a John Peel of being able to be a gateway to playing it in, you know, all the diverse sounds of jungle drum and bass. Whether that's liquid, whether that's tech, whether that's neuro. If it's good tunes, we're running.
Good music is good music, right?
But I forgot about this because I haven't played it for a little while. But thank you for the love.
Yeah, nice. Love it, mate. It's a perfect true, and to hear you go back to your roots and do it, you did smash it.
No, thank you. I think at the end of the day, you can't never forget where you come from, and I think every now and again you got to go back and you touch something, and then you just go about what you're gonna do. You know what I mean? And I've just done something a couple of days ago, and I said to Chris, I've said if I send it to you, you're gonna want it. Because it's like serious jungle techno. I played it the other day in the car and I was like, it's a bit of a naughty sample. But the tune just sounds bad. And it just sounds like old school Paradise AWOL vibe. You know what I mean?
Because that was what was really. I actually kind of musically missed out on 93. My family moved to New Zealand, so I was out raving 91, 92, then went to New Zealand for the whole 93, then came back at the beginning of 94, or just before New Year's. So I missed that. You know, my lifeline was literally my mates just sending me tapes. You know, and then coming back. The music had changed so much, and I think you know there was kind of sort of that breakbeat hardcore. Then you saw tangos and ratties and fallouts with that kind of dark side, kind of heavy jungle techno sound. There was definitely early influences of jungle in there, and even bits of kind of drum and bass in there. try and think back to like the kind of that beginning of '93. Like, what are you thinking as a producer as that year is kind of evolving?
Should we turn that one?
Yeah,
it wasn't really like that, Jay. It wasn't thinking about anything.
Yeah.
It was just a natural progression. Everything that you heard and everything that was going on was very organic.
Yeah.
And there was no thought process about, we're going to change the sound now. We were just being influenced by what was going on.
Right.
So if you think '93, when I did Renegade Terrorist was done September, October. I made one side for Ryder and one side for Fabio, but I gave it to Frost, Brian, Fab Groove, Kenny. I think Randall had it. Mickey, yeah, Darren. So about 10 people had it all at the same time, and everybody played it and started with it or ended with it on Christmas Day, on New Year's Eve. So it was going to be, and also that by that time, I already wanted to make music that would stand the test of time,
right?
Because I didn't want to make music that was just throwaway, and that's a shame now because there's so much throwaway music that you shift from it, but there's still a lot of good music. I mean, that's why I do the Dreadcast, and I'm very grateful to Tim Stelter and Claire and Dorian for giving me a platform, because I feel like it's a new age and a new birth of streaming.
Yeah.
And to be still at the forefront of that, and to be able to have the Blueprint show to celebrate old and new artists coming in, influence from those days, and then to carry on with my Dreadcast, get so many exclusives. Like people phone me and say, "Ray, can you play this? Just had something from BC. He sent it over," and it's just nice for people to send it, and we get a great reaction from my loyal followers. They just, whatever we do, they're there for us. So thank you for the people that support us online, because it's really important, especially through lockdown. As much as it was hard for people out there, it was hard for everyone, and that was my way of connecting. And I was actually driving up to London, doing the show by myself, nobody about, come back home, and there was no one on the streets, but I was connecting. Do you know what I mean? And some of the shows were crazy. Like there was like 400-500 people at one time, because nobody was doing anything else. And I was talking, staying positive, and doing what we were doing, and big up Origin for that. You know, like that. You know, if it wasn't for pirate radio station and pirate and online streams, still carrying this music. Because sometimes the major stations don't always reflect what's going on the underground, until it gets popular, and then you've got another. So you know, it all helps. Big up everybody that does weekly shows or monthly shows, and that takes the time out to, because that's a very important thing for me. You know. Yeah,
for sure. I think, like you say, it's great to be able to kind of play music. You know, I've had some really lovely messages from people, and I've always replied, actually, like, it's being able to still play and be able to connect to people that's actually saved me. I went for a big wobble like a year after lockdown, and actually it was the radio that was really kind of like that moment where actually I thought, you know what's going to be all right. You know, you can still connect with people, have a bit of banter, play a few tunes. Great. You know what? That's topped my cup up nicely, actually. Do you know what? We're still going to keep chatting for a bit, but I think if anyone wants to get any questions in about the book, to Ray, anything Dread related, get some questions in. We'll fire them up, and we'll see if we can get through some user questions. But while we're waiting for those to come in, let's talk about Dread Recordings.
Thank you.
Amazing label.
28 years now.
That's crazy.
We haven't always been consistent, but we've been there. Obviously, through trials and tribulations in your life, the releases got sporadic, I would say. And but we've been there from day one. It's not like we've ever stopped, and I'm proud of that. 28 years in the game, the label. I've seen a lot of big fish come and go. We've stayed integral. We've brought some amazing artists. I'm running two labels side by side. So we've got Dread, and then we've got Dubplate Dread. So that's allowed me to put music out every 6 weeks on a digital format, including remixes. T.I.'s remix of Renegade, which is sick. Critical Impact's remix of Dark Soldier is now coming. That's on a limited edition vinyl as well.
Nice.
We had both the remixes of Chopper come out as well. Which is, we do limited edition 500 releases just for the kudos of the release, so people can buy something who are vinyl collectors, so they'll be worth more further down the line. And that's really important. And then there was the other labels, UFO and Penny Black, which were again very, very integral. But I did loads of white labels. That Dub Rock was me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, trying to keep up with your aliases is like, that's like
it's a bit mad. But I do so much music. I didn't want to just water everything down. And if you're creative, sometimes you have to find them outlets. I mean, another beautiful story was, I'm Chronic 7 and Chronic 8, and then Dizzy Rascal DM'd me when I was on Radar, and he was like, and that was when I was just getting used to social media, like 5 years ago. And I said to my daughter, I said Dizzy Rascal just messaged me and sent me the clips of the tunes and went, mate, I did not know that you'd done these tunes. This is my childhood hit, like this is my childhood right here. And then I was so cheeky. I was like, yeah, well, if you ever want to come to Radar and do a little set and anyway, I just left it at that. And then, because I'd met Dizzy a good few years before, because we put him on the front cover of ATM magazine. Right. So my kids had met him when they were like really young, like 8 and 10 or something. Okay. Yeah. So it's not until another 5 years later on that he then goes, "What, you done these tunes?" I was like, "Yeah," and then and they were big tunes, they were underground tunes, And then I'm driving to the radio, picking up Gavin, my friend, and one of the guys that recruited me to go to Radar, and Gavin Douglas, and he changed my life because he gave me a new platform. And then Dizzy came on, we shut the internet down. Even Mr. Jam was watching from Radio 1. He was like on his phone, like, I can't believe this. 150,000 people watched that show. Shut the internet down. Everything burnt out. Like, it was crazy. Dizzy Rascals now with Ray Keith. They are now DJing together. Yeah. And we were just DJing 2 on 2, listening to music. And but it was nice, you know, because that gap. I suppose if you look at that gap, it's like 10 years between all of us. Like you got the likes of Mala, Dizzy, Wiley, Skepta. Do you know what I mean? And then now you've got the Daves and the Stormzys. Yeah. So it's just carrying on. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. But they would have been born from jungle and garage. Do you know what I mean? My nephew Joy Orbison. Yeah. So it was a big, lovely melting pot of what was going on, and it's nice to be part of it. You know, we didn't have the internet then. You know, I didn't know, like, you couldn't see me. Yeah. There he is up there. And then Monday you'd be waiting for the tape pack to come out, or the week after. Yeah. Or you'd hear me on a mix on Kiss or maybe Radio 1, and then there was MySpace. Yeah. MySpace, quite, yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. There was no way of seeing anybody, and you couldn't even take a photo back on your phone then. No. You couldn't.
I mean, didn't you have phones? You know,
no one was on that. I mean, the other day I was DJing in Bristol and everyone's on their phone. Do you know what I mean? But it's something normal. Yeah. Maybe it's getting less at some of the parties that we play at because it's more about the music. But everyone's got their phone out, or they're taking a selfie or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that because it helps to promote and
captures moments, right?
Yeah, and also it's a different way of communicating now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I walk around now with a 2 terabyte hard drive. I plug my hard drive in. I've got bare music on there, and I don't need to worry about anything. Yeah. And all of us have broken our backs, selling and carrying music. You know, the amount of boxes, and all of that.
Today's osteopaths and chiropractors are doing all right thanks to that generation.
Probably are. I've had to have my back straightened out. But also, you know, like it was a different type of social media place. I miss Black Market. I miss Hype and Brocky and, you know, like man just passing through. The place is a whole cloud of smoke. Myself and Nicky have worked together for 19 years. I know him inside out, you know, and we all have ups and downs. You know, we get married, we get divorced, we have kids, we lose people, and it's just that cycle of life. But you're all supporting each other.
Yeah.
You know, and even drug addiction and there's certain things that you see and you call your mates and you say, listen, are you all right? Because this, like I said, this music business is very hard. They didn't teach us anything. We were just thrown in there.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like, actually, you know, you hear it very often, especially when people talk about, you know, like an Atari ST and a keyboard, a cracked copy of Cubase, and there's no manuals, no YouTube, no nothing. You know, it's all very self-made. You're sampling stuff. You know, that comes as all part of that as that evolves, right? Then becomes the business side of it, from running a label, managing your taxes, doing gigs. You know, all those kind of elements as part of it. You know, you have to absorb all of that to be able to kind of keep it going.
If you look at the original labels, if you look at Reinforced,
yeah,
you know, Digo and Ian and you know, For Hero and what they done, and then you look at Ibiza and you look at Kemet and you look at Suburban Bass and you look at Moving Shadow, they were the earliest labels that really put their stall out and started to Formation Records and started to make it look like it was a business.
Yeah.
And you could run it like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those were the first imprints of what gave us, you know, my label would come out with Phil 93, 94. And also I've got to shout out Phil Hills, you know, like, wow, what a, sorry, not Phil Hills, Phil from Basement. Phil Hills was the first guy that ever gave me my residency at an all-black club in Ipswich called Cinderella's.
Yeah.
And I had that when I was 18 years old, and I did that for 3 years. Or 4 years, and I was playing soul, rare groove and jazz every Friday, Saturday, and I did the kids, the youngsters, on a Tuesday, and he handed that to me. So I've been very fortunate that I've had amazing residencies.
Yeah.
And even when I came to London, you know, and you know, all the powerful women in the scene, all the agents, Sarah from Groove Connection, Caroline from Unique, Tanya from UMC, they were the early chicks that were using this as a business and harnessing everything.
Yeah.
And all the early female DJs, you know, DJ Wild Child, Rap, Smoking Joe, Danielle and Rochelle. It was quite healthy, you know, because we were all helping each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, there was Lisa Loud back in the day, if you remember her, and she was working for a record company. Nancy Noise, you know, these are all names that people wouldn't realise, but these were household names growing up.
Yeah,
you know, Johnny Walker, Nigel, who was over at what was the label that Derek B was on? Come on. UK label. Do you remember it?
I can see it.
Red Writing. Oh, I can't remember now. And Bob Masters, Simon Dunmore, who was at Cool Tempo, Eddie Gordon, who was at Eternal. They gave him, Warner Brothers, they gave him Eternal. He asked me to come and work for him.
Yeah.
I turned him down. I was at City Sounds there. And there was Andy Thompson, who was Pete Tong's second right-hand man.
Wow.
As he left, I went into City Sounds. That's how I got placed by my mate Buster Brooker. So yeah, bigging up Buster Brooker. You know, these are all things that happened to me and are in the book that I thank them. Do you know what I mean? Dave Malone as well.
Do you remember that first time you walked into Black Market as an employee?
Well, that was bittersweet. That was because I went to the Christmas party for City Sounds, and the governor, who also used to run Greyhound, he didn't talk to me. And in the morning, Dave, my boss, said, yeah, in the morning, go up to Greyhound, you're going to go on a course in the morning, they're going to talk to you about it. This is a week before Christmas, bro. This is a Christmas party.
Yeah.
So I go up there, and Big John, he massive, like personality. He looks at me and he goes, I think you know why you're here, son. We've got to let you go. You've got too big for the shop and too big for Dave. But I wish you well, and you know you're going to do well. We're going to cut you loose.
Jesus.
And I was like, what? I gave you my everything. I just got a mortgage. I've got a kid.
Yeah.
It's Christmas. I phoned my dad. I'm like, Dad, they just sacked me. He went, what? He said, and I was saying a whole heap of things I shouldn't have been saying.
Yeah.
And he went, the way you got to hurt them is in their pocket, because that's the only way they're ever going to learn.
Yeah.
The second person I called was Groove Rider. And Ryder was like, you're joking me. And I was like, they just got rid of me. I was broken. I've been broken a few times in my life. I think when my mum left my house, that broke me. And that broke me as well. And then later on in life, when my mum died, my dad died, and when I had some issues with my ex-wife, and when we split up, those are moments that you can go either way.
Yeah,
you dust yourself off, or you turn to addiction, and you try and drain out the pain.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to absorb the pain. I've been tattooed 6 hours straight. Like, the geezer's like, what is in you? Like, you mad? Like, and I'm talking a whole sleeve, outline, and started to colour in.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah. And I've had treatment where I've been strapped to a machine where they're putting electrodes in me and they've turned it right up, and they're like, you can take that, yeah? Because I've got to leave you for 20 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Because I've done martial arts, it's a mental thing. That's why I box as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But that time, so the third person, so that first was my dad, second was Ryder, third person I called Black Market. I'm still in the phone box, like, because my battery, my big phone's like gone. The battery's gone off of it, because they didn't used to last that long. It's a couple hours. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm talking about
the batteries were like,
and it was the brick. And then I'm like, shit, what am I going to do now? So I had my little phone book, and then I think I might have even phoned directories to put me straight through to Black Market, I put my money in the phone box. I was in the red phone box, and I'm there, and I phone up, and I go straight to the office, and Dave Pacioni answers the phone, and he says, "Hi, Black Market," and I said, "Hi, my name's Ray Keith," and he went, "Oh, Ray, I just heard they let you go." He went, "Come and see me Monday morning. I'll give you a job."
Brilliant.
I was like, what? And I haven't phoned my ex-girlfriend up at this point.
Yeah.
So I've lost my job.
Yeah.
And then I've got another job all within 2 hours. But that's God's way of going, one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
I went there Monday morning. Now, don't forget, for the last 4 years, me and Nicky have had a mad rivalry, because tunes will come in off of the van.
Yeah.
I'll say to the geezer, how many have you got in the van? He goes, I've got 300. I'll be like, give me all of them. He'd be like, what? I said, I'll pay you cash now, or come back in 7 days and I'll have your dough. He'd be like, what? You want all the 300? I went, bro, give me the 300. Let me tell you something. It was like selling hot cakes in that shop. At lunchtime, I would hold up the record. I'd play the tune.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to give it to Dave. He taught me everything.
Yeah.
He apologised for his behaviour, which is really cool.
Yeah.
There's another guy who I know, an Asian guy, and it's completely gone out of my head now. It'll come back to me. One of he looks after Cunning, but it'll come back to me. But he bridged the gap, and actually Dave sent me a really nice message and went, you know what, we didn't treat you very well.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? He was under the cosh.
Yeah.
It was all about results. It was all about putting a pound note in the till. But when I left there, so I'd gone to Black Market, and I thought I'd be like, because I would wipe Nicky out. He would be like, what? He bought all of them? And he would be like, yeah. Or Nicky would manage to get something. Oh, no. You give me 4 boxes and you give them 1 box. Because they would go the rounds. But the thing about it is, because I was paying cash, there was always going to come to me.
Right, yeah.
So, and then there was this rivalry. So now we're all in the same place, right? Now everybody's coming to both of us. Now we wipe the floor with everyone. I mean, really and truly, there should be a documentary just on black market, I think.
Yeah.
But you know, the sad thing about black market, and I've never really made a public comment about it, but they were all too bloody greedy. And that is actually an example of how something can be so great and then absolutely worth nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's worth nothing today.
Yeah.
Because they fought it out, because they didn't come around the table, because this one was pulling and this one was pushing, or I own this and I own that. And I tried to buy into that many times, but they wouldn't let me buy into it.
Yeah.
And I helped a lot of people. And whilst the brand was suffering, I tried to plug the holes and it just didn't work. And it's a shame because that actually could have kept going.
Right, yeah.
Because if I'm going for 28 years, why couldn't a black market kept going? And black market was there 10 years before me. So I was very upset with all of them. And when I went there I left there, but when I walked in there, I think the first person I saw was Nikki, Sophie, Zach, and I'd met Dave. And then we just all became a family.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's Sharon, who's in my testimonial. There's Miss Pink, who came afterwards. What an amazing time we had. I mean, we just... it was... We got so popular that downstairs was hip-hop. And Sophie was running it with another guy, and I forgot his name now, black guy with locks. And then they was like, do you think you could run it downstairs? And we're like, listen, we clean up. And then obviously dubstep came in with Youngster. But those days were magical. They were the best days, some of the best days of my life. But I'd had some amazing days with my friends who I'd worked with. Paul Woods, young guy. Me and him were like brothers, you know. And he was just young. He was so young. And we were working there. And it was an adventure. I'd already been going up working at Ferrucci's in Kings Road. You know, I was travelling from Clacton-on-Sea. I was travelling from Colchester. I'd get up early. And it's funny, I was speaking to Floyd yesterday, and it's like, we're always on our grind. You know, like, even if you're having dinner, I'm still on my grind, watching, like, can I make some money right now? Like, what, you know, you don't stop, because when you're self-employed, there's no, but it's not work, because you love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as your bills are getting paid, and I'm learning more now to be a businessman, not to take things personally, to make sure that I can run something that like Jamal said, R.I.P. And he had it so right. What a young soul he was, you know, to let something be there for the whole of eternity. And I hope that when we're gone, we were talking about this. What is jungle going to mean in 20 years? I mean, it's hard. It's hard thinking about it,
isn't it? Yeah,
it is, because look, we've done nearly 40 years now.
Yeah,
I'm over half a century. Do you know what I mean? I won't say how exact, but I'm over half a century.
Yeah.
So if I'm over half a century, and maybe God willing, I've got another 10, 15, 20 years, what is that going to mean?
I mean,
look at the resurgence now.
Yeah. I've thought about this, and I thought, you know, I look at my, you know, my dad used to love the Pogues and Dire Straits, and, you know, I'd see him every now and again. He'd listen to him, and I'd see him, like, he'd really listen to it, and that was the music of when he was a young adult, and then or middle age. And then there's other stuff that we listened to, like the Beatles, that were really old. And you think, well, once you love something, like, you don't stop loving it.
you don't fall out of love.
It seems mental to listen to jungle drum and bass at 74 years old. But then it might have seemed crazy to listen to Elvis Presley when you were that age, back in the 50s and 60s. I think it's...
I think the legacy that we leave behind, even, you know, like, I used to sort out Brocky, Nicky, like I said, Doc Scott. But our legacy will be, and all of our legacy is, we're of that age group that everyone grew up with us. So if you're in your 40s, 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
you know who we are.
Yeah.
And we're household names, because if you go raving and if you go Ministry or if you go AWOL, just like all the MCs, GQ and, you know, all the original lot, Moose, Navigator, you know, all the guys, Det, all the guys that Shabba, Skipper, all the guys that established themselves, R.I.P. Stevie Hyper D.
Yeah.
This was the cornerstones, the setting stones that would go on to have all your little fragments. You know, you got Rupture now, it's now mainstream, but it was underground.
Yeah.
But these are the things that have allowed things to go on and keep expanding. You know, Sarah with Swerve, Bookham, Fabio, there were certain niches that were going on, and now it's almost like everything's reconnecting, because through the internet, people upload old mixes. I mean, I go online, I haven't got every single record I made, because I just not really...
Yeah.
I'm not really bothered about it, but now I'm kind of thinking maybe I should be collecting.
You should.
Oh yeah, maybe
You
I should
totally
be.
should.
And especially now I'm playing some sets, and I have started to buy records again. I bought one of my tunes the other day. I was like, wow. And I also found it in the bargain bucket. But I was quite happy with that, because I was like, I love a bargain. And I think I put it up on Insta, but I was like, wow. And you can pick up some real gem. Listen, my thing was making breaks. I used a lot of breaks before everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, the way we curated the Amen break, the way we curated a lot of breaks. A lot of people sampled those breaks from us.
And you talk about that first sample CD that you did with Devon as well, with Blade Runner.
Yeah.
How that started getting used.
Well, we did that purposely because we were just fed up with no one having weight. And then all these people putting out these like baggy, no weight sample packs, and when we did our one, it blew everyone away.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to push our sound and make it available, so the young kids could actually go, well, now I can get that dread sound.
Yeah.
A little bit like what you know, Public Enemy. You know, when you look at Hank Shockley and look at that, they had a special production team that would produce those albums. And I guess in a roundabout way and an unconscious way, and then we were doing the same thing, because I would pick my players, I would have my people together, and I would work with these guys, and it would take me, as much as they were young and I was embracing the technology, it would push me forward.
Right.
And it was my way of going, okay, I need to embrace this because this is new. You know, like just like when Ryder curated that sound, the two-step sound, and had Ed Rush and Optical with him, and the whole Wormhole thing. He was at the centre of that because he'd embraced that and brought those guys in, and that was his time. Just like V, you know, with that soulful funk, you know, Adam F. I mean, listen, there's some amazing artists that have been able to break through and to take it to the next level. You know, when Goldie did Inner City Life, it just changed the game, you know, and that was when people took us seriously.
Yeah.
And that was when you look back and you just think, okay, cool, this is now some next level business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful thing. And there was a lot of there's a lot of unsung heroes within the early days, but I'm glad that people like Remark and Busy and all the older guys, and even what Night Force is what's doing, that they are now coming back and having production and doing what they're doing, because I think it's important, you know, and with the lights of Kemet and Ibiza and Third Party and Potential Bad Boy. I mean, listen, Potentials.
Yeah, Chris was
Dexterous.
Yeah.
You know, they both did testimonials in my book. I haven't mentioned everyone yet in the book because we cut. Blimey, is that the time?
Yeah.
Are you having a laugh? Have I been talking for that long?
I only asked you 2 questions.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, everyone knows that I like to talk. Can we get some questions up on the screen? Is that possible?
Do you know what? I've got a couple of questions from people. So yeah, if we can get something,
like, put them to a minute. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking. What the hell? No. Really? Is that the time? Blimey. Thank you for coming to do this.
Respect, mate. Thank you. It's an honour for inviting me down. It really is,
No
mate.
worries.
I really appreciate it. All right. So I got a question from 10-inch Press. It says, Raider remixed Don Keith when he remixed tunes back in 93, 94. Were you inspired by any particular clubs that you played at?
I was just smoking weed and I wanted to go and see my girl. That's it. I wanted to knock up a dub plate. I'm going to the dance. I'm smoking a spliff. I'm making a bad boy tune. I'm cutting this tune. I'm playing this tune tonight.
Done.
I would not make a tune and go back to it. If I was going in for 4 or 5 hours, I was coming out with 2 tunes on that.
Yeah.
I was going to go and cut it and play it out the same night.
Yeah.
That was it.
Done.
Yeah.
You know what? While we're talking about that, we've got to obviously talk about Music House. You know, R.I.P. Leon. What I know.
R.I.P. Leon. I mean, listen, you see them 2 geezers. I get a bit emotional when I talk about Chris and I talk about Fu Manchu, Paul, because they took me under their wing. They always said to me, there was a lot of, you didn't get everything, and it hurt sometimes, but you wouldn't be included in that little club. I'll talk about that in the book.
Yes.
But that did harden me up, and that was just the way it was. Or a man even remixing your tune and you not even getting a piece. Yeah. You know what I'm talking to, and that hurt me. I won't go into that. But and you know, I've had my fair share of whatever. But what I'm saying is, see those 2 geezers. I would stand in front of them if a bus was coming or a plane was landing because I love them that much.
Yeah,
they were integral, and they used to say to me, when I first talked to Chris, I never spoke to a yard man before. I didn't even know what he was saying. So I was like, I want to order 5 plates, And then when I went down there, and it was some little shack, and I thought, what the hell is this place? But I just loved them. Yeah. And they are. It is. If they put us on the map, and we fed mouths. They fed our mouth. You know what I mean? Yeah. We cut the plate. We played the plate. Other people would go and cut plates. We would all be cutting plates. Then they went to Metropolis. Then they went here. Then they went there. Then they had their little clubs. I was stuck at Music House. I was doing what I was doing. Big up my friend Noel, who was one of the first geezers, Noel Newton. You know, that geezer taught my other mate, Neil from Masterpiece, how to cut my tunes.
Oh, really?
So if in the documentary that's coming, the book was amazing. Yeah, and thank you everyone for all the love. But I wanna strive to better, and I'm telling you, the documentary's going to be off the hook. Wicked. Some people have already seen some of the snippets, and they're like, "Ray, this is like lightning in a bottle. This is unbelievable." and I directed and shot that. Dave was asking the questions, and then we've got 2 shoots in London, and we've got 1 shot in Bristol. Because again, I'm going to try and get as many people as I can who help influence us. But Music House, I mean, if I could do a This Is Your Life with those 2 and give them a golden book and give them a banging holiday for everything that they've done for us. I know it's all digital now, but those early days, and Leon was the new kid on the block with his little natty dreads, you know, and he was with Mampy Swift. I was talking to Mampy the other day, and we miss him, do you know what I mean? He was part of us, and it was so sad, do you know what I mean? Like,
I was very fortunate I met him a couple of times because Cool was around that space. He was always a very gentle, kind guy, you know, just always seemed to have time at all.
Cool, again, integral. They all played my tunes on the radio, you know, and Origin and all the other stations, too many to mention, but you know, all of them that were there that were playing my music, because it was mad, because we'd be driving around, I'd be putting the Pirates on, and they'd all be playing my tunes. I didn't necessarily play at all of those clubs. I played for Jungle Fever a few times, but there were certain clubs that I didn't. But my music was everywhere because everyone was playing. It was always like I was in the dance anyway. And every negative I turned into a positive. So I didn't. There was no format. It just like how I listened to that tune and I went, I can tear that to pieces. And I can go and I can make that golden. That's the intent. I wouldn't do anything that I didn't feel I could enhance it, because sometimes you just can't. Do you know what I mean? Like when they gave me the Moby thing, I couldn't use any of the vocals, so I just redid the whole tune, used one of their samples, and yes, and that was it. I built my own tune out. And that went on to be a huge hit, you know.
With the dubplate thing, when did you first? Because at a point, people are playing test presses and what have you. When did you first think, I need to start getting my stuff cut? I need to start getting tunes cut? I
was already cutting plates when I did 1992 with with Orbital, the
Okay.
remix. So that's how long Chris has been cutting plates for me.
Wow.
Pre-Jungle.
Yeah.
So he was already cutting my stuff.
Yeah.
I was one of the first ones to ever go down there. So
That's
that's
crazy.
how long my relationship with Chris is.
Yeah.
And the day I walked in there is the day that Fu Manchu Paul started. So it was always meant to be I would embrace them and they would be like family to me. And one day, I've got to say this quickly, I know we haven't got time. One day I went in there and I saw a bottle of water, and they used to, I don't know why, they'd eat plain cream crackers, nothing on them. Your mouth would be mashed up, especially if you'd been smoking. It was like sandpaper in your mouth. And I'd obviously had a spliff, and I was like, and I'd taken one of these crackers. I was like, I need to get this out of my mouth. I can't swallow it. I said, Chris, what's going on with that Evian bottle down there? And he went, yeah, don't worry about it. He goes, yeah, take it. And Paul looked at me and said, yeah, take the thing, man. And I started to gulp this, which I thought was water.
As you would do.
As you would do. And I'm gulping it because there's about that much left in the bottle, right? So it's that much left in a big Evian bottle. So that much is left. I'm gulping it down. And as I'm gulping it down, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, why's my throat burning? Like, my throat's really burning now. What the hell? My mouth's burning. I was drinking pure Ray and Nephew. And
I actually laughed out loud when I read that.
And I was like, and I was like, are you serious right now? But you know, Ryder gave me my first spliff, and I took the wrong train back to. I didn't even go to Harlow. I didn't even go to Harlow. I didn't even go to Colchester. I was meant to go to Clacton on Sea, and I ended up in Diss, Norwich, and I had to get a cab back. And I had to take a train back to Colchester, and then from Colchester to Clacton on Sea, so it cost me 50 quid. And it was a bit nuts. But yeah, more questions.
All right, okay.
I think we could go to 3:15. You know, why not? We're here now.
There we go. All right. So while we get those warmed up, Keith Clark, he said, "What was the last event?" I like this question. What was the last event you attended that you would have loved to have been on the dance floor and not on the decks?
There's a bit inside me that wants to brock out every time I'm on the decks.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose after lockdown, my last gig was Bang Face.
Yeah.
So it was bang right in the middle of when they were going to do lockdown. And then I think one of my first gigs coming back to the summer, I was so excited because I'd done the sit-down raves, and I think it was in Bristol at Blue Mountain, and I was full of emotion, and sometimes people can't see because it looks like sweat's dripping down your face, but actually I'm actually that emotional that I'm crying when I'm playing the tune, but you can't see that. You just think I'm sweating. But there's something that when I hear that tune, I mean, there's been many times I just want to. Paul Trouble Anderson used to do it a lot. He just didn't give zeros, and he'd just play the tune and go around and start boogieing on the other side of the decks. And I guess that would look odd to people, but I have a good old dance when I'm at home sometimes in my studio. And I do love going dances, so I don't really get the chance, but sometimes in my head, I suppose that would have been the time when I went to there's special places that you go to. Bristol is one of them. When I go to E1, it gives me an overwhelming feeling like I'm in the end, because the sound system's so sick, and that's why I've done my parties there. My daughter, bless her, had her debut. She says, "Oh, Dad, I want to DJ," so I've stuck it on her, and she'd done the warm up.
Yeah.
At E1. The last party we did on the 7th of May. So that was nice to see her up there.
I'll bet.
And I was actually on the dance floor. But it was like a reflection of me. So, because she looked so cool, and Joy was there, and he was like, we always knew Lola would go on the decks, and he went, "Look at her, she looks like cool as a cucumber, Ray. She looks like you up there." But they've seen me DJ so many times, and they keep me young with the music that they listen to, because they listen to everything. They're very eclectic. I guess it's in my head. I guess it's in my head.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned the end. So, what an amazing club, right?
Big up
Phenomenal
Mr.
space.
C, yeah, and Leo.
And I was fortunate. I was a resident there for 4 years for Ram Records, so I had some good times down there. And I know that there was plenty of events down there. That main room, there was just something about that kind of spaceship that had just landed in the middle of the dance floor that just gave you that direct connection to everyone there, right? You must have had some amazing
When
nights
Richard rang me and went, Ray, I want you to do a jungle D&B night here, I was the first one to go in there.
Right, yeah.
He gave me the green light. I was doing the black market nights there.
Yeah.
And then later on I would go on and do other parties there, but that I curated the first ever.
Do you remember what year that was?
When it started. So when the end opened a year afterwards, we were in there.
Right, okay, yeah.
So we were the very first ones to go in there, and then everyone came in afterwards. You had Trouble on Vinyl, Renegade, Hardware. Everyone had residencies there. Ram was there, but we did the first parties there, and they were incredible. But I think the best night was when we did a Trouble on Vinyl night, and me and Nicky played back to back for 2 hours, and every tune we played, we shelled it.
Yeah.
People was going nuts. I've had some incredible nights there, and I feel that E1 is that type of space.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I like the vibe. It's dark. It's got its little corners. It's got a great vibe to it. But there was Peckham. There was Paradise. They were just, and I had residencies at all of them. They were amazing times.
Laser Drone?
Yeah, Laser Drone, Peckham, yeah. I was with one of the first DJs in there, and before Sonia was in there, and before they were booking, I was booking Frost and Brian.
Wow.
And they were playing techno in there.
Yeah.
And then some guy booked me, and then that's when it all changed, and then it became what it became.
Yeah, because I used to go, Innocence, that's right, yeah. I used to go down, went down there 3 or 4 times in '92. And I could never survive the main floor because, you know, obviously at that stage I was kind of doing whatever. But you're walking in this laser skirmish, you're bumping into stuff, there's mirrors. You came out of there looking like someone had beaten the crap out of you because you're bumping into
you didn't know where you was going, and also all the bridges. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This legacy of ours, and it was all linked up. Do you know what I mean? And even like places that we used to play at EUA with, I didn't know T.I. then, but he was doing it with a guy called Bunny at the waterfront, and we used to work with them, and then 10 years 15 years later T.I. would become a massive artist himself. So everyone's connected. Critical Impact used to work in the office at ATM. So there's so many people that came through us. Do you know what I mean? And it's been amazing. Yeah, it really has. Some more questions. Dorian, do you want to bring the iPad in? Because obviously we're not getting any joy with any questions on the screen. And I wouldn't mind taking a few off of Facebook if anyone's out there. I don't even know if anyone's watching because we haven't seen any interaction. I don't know what's going on, whether it's crashed or opened or whatever. But anyway,
I've got one more question.
Go on.
From Aston.
What, Acid Aston?
I
don't know him any money, do I? No, I don't think so. Yeah, go on.
He says, please ask him if he enjoyed the bed and breakfast he supplied years ago when he stayed at his parents' house.
Yeah, of course. Like, listen, those geezers are a family to me. You know, like I remember going to his mum and dad's house and engineering at his mum and dad's house, and that's how we were. Yeah. We were tight, you know. Yeah. And that goes for everyone in the scene, you know, like all the people I've been away with, all the people that we DJ and MC with, and the promoters. I've met some incredible people, and Aston is one of them. Do you know what I mean? 100%.
I think getting some questions.
They're the type of people that are integral and that you find. You know, they've got your back. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if I haven't seen him. It doesn't matter if I haven't seen him in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got that connection. All right, so we got this question. I'm not sure who they're from, but first one, it was, why is Dread called Dreads?
I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I love Stallone. And when he brought out Judge Dredd, I looked at that and I was like, I need a name that's not gonna change with like the timeline.
Yeah.
and I did, but if I put dread as in DRED, I could have used that. But when I came up with dread, and then Brian went, "What dread?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of," and that kind of sums it all up. I think it just so I watched the movie and I saw the badge and I was like, and then Phil called me and he's like, "Ray, we need to get this label sorted," because I'd already done the remixes of Oxford Hardcore, What's My Code, and that came out, and he was like, "Ray, we need to launch the label." Now I'd already done 3 or 4 tracks ready to go, and then I said, "Phil, what do you reckon about dread?" And he went, "You know what, that's the one, dread." So yeah, that dread is dread.
Nice. How did Ray find the samples in his tracks?
So basically, I'm a avid record hunter, and I'll still go out and buy records now if I hear something.
Yeah.
Actually, I went to Manchester, was it Liverpool, about just before the pandemic, and I bought a white label of New Order's Blue Monday.
Blue Monday, wow.
Test press. I bought it for 40 quid. It was just on the wall, and I was like, "Is that real?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Mate, that's got to come with me." And you know who produced that tune?
No.
Quincy Jones.
Really?
So that's what I'm
Bloody
saying.
hell.
Like all of these tunes, like people have had mad influences on.
That's crazy.
And I'm the avid sampler, so I will lift off a break. That Maceo break that Photech used and then Source Direct used afterwards, I left that in his sampler in Ipswich, and then they took that break.
Yeah.
But I would say a good 20 breaks in the jungle scene have come clean from me, because I always was a breaks hunter, and I sample records. That's how you get the breaks, and then you cut them up, and then you make them to how you want to make them.
I love the sound of that, breaks hunter. There's something very cool about that.
Like avid. I still look for samples now. Hence I told you about that tune that I done for. Well, I'm going to send it to Chris anyway, but yeah, it's a banger.
How do you see the drum and bass sound going forward?
It's always evolving. You can't really harness that.
Yeah.
You know, what happens is one sound comes out, people will want to jump on it, and I guess the best way that I deal with things is I just make it my own.
Yeah.
So I put my own spin on it. So I've got a tune called Amnesia coming on my album. My new album's called Birdman, because through lockdown, every morning I was waking up, I was feeding the birds, and that's before I had a dog, and it was called Birdman. So I've done some tracks with Elisa, who I've been producing for the last few years. Yeah. And she's on her way now. She's got a couple of EPs coming out. But I just embrace whatever it is and take the best out of it. Yeah. You know, listen, I love it from break to Ricky Force, to whoever, to Marcus Visionary, to one of our guys, Fleck. You know what I mean? Like from Blade Runner to Noisia. Yeah. From Potential Bad Boy to I don't know, like Fetus. You know, a new kid that's making kind of tech. Neuro. Listen, it's all jungle to me. If it's in my box and I'm playing it, that means I'm feeling it. I had a wicked gig on Saturday. I played for Goat Shed. I did a live stream for them. And I played in their club, and they got it, and they were going nuts. Nice. It was absolutely mad.
Nice. All right. So this question is: how did the remix of Moby come around? Absolute anthem. Who wasn't shouting yes, yes in the dance during '94?
And actually, that's become a slogan now, isn't it? Because people actually say yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I guess, do you know what? I've been blessed. Like I've really, I've always been at the right place at the right time. Right. It seems that God's always given me. And when I've been on my arse, Jay, there's always been a door open for me. You know, there was one time I was broke, and it was Christmas, and work got cancelled, and when I was married to my ex-wife, I always used to. It's mad how you do things with money, but I had an envelope. I put my envelopes in the drawer. Right. Sometimes it was cash or it was bank transfer. Yeah. And I went into the drawer, and luckily there was 500 quid in there, and I was like, this is Christmas sorted.
Yeah, done.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's listen, there's been times where I haven't paid my mortgage and I've gambled like SS, but the gamble's paid off either on a release or a record or something.
Yeah.
And but if you don't put all your eggs in one basket and you take a risk, then you're never going to know. And some of them haven't worked out.
Yeah.
You know, I crashed out at Brick Lane, and I owed them money. And it's funny, I was there the other day and I saw them, and it turns out that we're going to be recording in my old studio.
No way.
It's nuts how the world and the universe works.
Yeah.
And I remember being in there, and Offa called me in. I was like, this is it now. And he came in and he went, Ray, get your stuff and F off. And I was like, what? He was like, get your stuff, by the end of the week and go. He goes, you'll be back when things get better.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, look at that.
Mm.
Like, and people owed me money, had knocked me for money.
Yeah.
I'd been owed money from ATM. I'd been owed money, you know, and this had a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
Someone had used my studio and taken liberties and
Yeah.
not paid me. And I'd felt it, you know, and my mum died, and that came all crashing down in 2003.
Yeah.
That was a tough year for me. But everything went wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you name it, it
Yeah.
went wrong. And even Dave was like, what the hell? Because when someone's reliving it with you, and I hadn't talked about it for so long, it's like, wow, how'd you come out of this?
Yeah.
But then you just go forward and you reinvent yourself and you keep pushing yourself. So,
And this is what I found as a theme throughout the book, you know, and like you say, like that 2003 was a very low time for you, but that kind of resilience and perseverance throughout it, you know, you kind of championing along with you, going like, yeah, come on, Ray, you're going to get out of this, you're going to get out of this. And
people don't know what's behind the eyes.
Right.
So what you see in front is not always what's going on behind the eyes.
Which is what you talk about, like that dark soldier, that facade, right?
That's the when I just go, you know what? And that's when I took my fight against Lee Cage, and I want to big up all the guys that I train with, you know, like I just dropped some books off yesterday to Big John, my coach, Gavin Conway, and then Duffy, Liza, forgotten his name now, it come back to me. There was Nick the mechanic who sparred with me. There was also Daz, he's an EBA champion. All of these guys, you know, they changed my life. You know, it's about discipline.
Yeah.
And I guess I did martial arts when I was younger.
Yeah.
But that whole dark soldier facade, I suppose, is your protection of what helps you to get...
It's your armour, right?
To get free. But, you know, now notice I don't really wear... I used to wear loads of jewellery.
Yeah.
Because it was something that I felt that I needed to do, like you put on your warrior jacket or your knuckle dusters or whatever you're going to do to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But now I feel at peace, and I've kind of... And I wanted... Listen, it's all right to be angry, but you need to find a way out of it.
Yeah.
You know, you can't help what you feel,
Yeah.
but there's always a different way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be disciplined and fight. You know, I felt sorry just going on the fight. You know, I watched Amir Khan the other day. He just looked lost in there.
Yeah.
And but I knew Kell Brook was prepared. I knew Kell Brook
Yeah.
had gone that extra mile, and he wanted it.
Yeah.
And if you want something, you know, then that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you put it out there, and you're not always going to get what you want, but like as long as you reach for the stars, like if you get a couple clouds, then do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're always going to
Yeah.
you know, something's going to come back, and if it doesn't come back now, it might come back in 5 years' time or 3 years' time.
Yeah.
But I think if you just got that dedication in your heart. And there's lots of people that have helped my journey and lots of people that have inspired me, and some I haven't mentioned today, so I apologise for that. But memory's getting old.
They're in the book, though.
I've tried to.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some people that I've missed, and but I put a nice little message in there to say, look, if I have forgotten you, it's not the end.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna be making a documentary. We're gonna be making films. I'm kicking down the doors until the old ticker stops ticking, and we're going to keep pushing and inspiring and bringing in new talent. That's what we're about.
Yeah, nice, mate. Well, On that note, mate, I'd say Ray Keith Dark Soldier.
Come on.
Get it direct.
Thank you very much.
We're going to send a link in there so you can find it nice and easy.
Listen, it's been a real pleasure.
Right.
Floyd speaks very highly of you.
Well, that's very kind.
I just wanted to name check a couple of my people. I wanted to say a big shout out to Floyd, Antonio, Andy Pandy. I wanted to say a big shout out to Martin, Ninja Martin. I want to say a big shout out to all my kids, everybody that knows me. All the promoters, all of my DJ pals, male, female, everybody I've worked with. I've just, you know what, I've had an amazing time doing what I'm doing, and I still love what I'm doing. Do you
More
know
to
what I
come,
mean?
mate.
Oh, mate, I can't wait. I feel like we've done the dress rehearsal, and this is this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Floyd said to me the other day, Ray, if we can ride that wave one more time, how good would that be?
Do you know, there's a thing you said earlier that really resonated with me, is that we've graduated now. This is where we're going to go. Love that.
100%, because it's taken a lifetime to learn things, you know, and you do get burnt along the way. And listen, you know, what I've learned is forgiveness is probably the biggest thing, and making amends, because if we don't put more love in the world, we're just going to live in this disgruntled, awful hate. Like, and I see that, you know, I can see that, and greed. Do you know what I mean? There's enough to go around for everyone, and we don't tear down, we build. So if I can bring you up, if I can bring you in, if I can give you a leg up, then that's cool. But you know, but that's your responsibility not to forget that when you're on the way up. And it's been nice for us to see Blade Runner Serum and Voltage to come back and do the King of the Rollers and do their nights and bring the likes of us. Like the other day, me, Brocky, like last year, me, as we came out of lockdown, me, Brocky and Mickey Finn were doing a back-to-back. I mean, that was sick. And we rolled out for 2 hours. And I was like, and we all played as one. Because we were all just blending. And I think there's a lot more of that to come.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think there's a lot more of those things where you just go, actually, you know what? We're just doing what we're doing. And plenty of testimonials, so people don't have to be skint. People can make their way, because it's been hard these last 2 years. But I think what we've realised is we don't actually need as much as what we thought we needed.
Well, actually, and also what we think we want is actually we've already got it. Family, you know, that's one thing I've definitely seen a lot of people, myself included, being forced to stay at home. It's like, well, actually, this is great. I get to spend more time with my kids and my wife, and you know, and I think there's a lot of that, and I think there's been more people appreciating that. All right, I've actually, what I need is right in front of me or inside, you know, and that's another important one as well, is that everything anyone ever needs is all inside there. And I think it's been a real journey, but you know, hopefully we're all the better for it, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think the way we're rolling out now, 23, 24, is when we're really gonna come back to some normality. At the moment, we've got to live with what's going on. And we've got to adapt, and we just got to go forwards. You know, we're in a tough time at the moment. But I just want to thank everybody that's had a part in my career. Thank you very much. And I just love what I do, and I'm just a geezer that loves playing music. So thank you very much for today. I didn't really actually know how to feel about today, because I was thinking, what's he going to ask me? And we haven't played no music. My apologies about that. But we'll make it up for...
We'll do a part 2.
We could do a part 2. Maybe we should do a part 2 and then play some tunes further down the line. But thank you for everybody that has taken upon it themselves to buy the book. I'm very blessed, and you know, all the people that's reached out to me, I've tried to message back. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully, actually, do you know what? We should actually do a live Q&A next time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe do a Q&A, so we've got more time for that, and then maybe I'll play some tunes for the last half. So do an hour Q&A and an hour of. And what did you think about the book?
I really enjoyed it. I think it was very honest, which I think is great, right? I think there's no point writing a life story if you're not going to be honest. I think it was great. You went into great detail with your early life, the relationship with your dad and your mum and the family. So I think I'm actually kind of getting goosebumps. It's actually setting the scene of the family, your life, your introduction to music. again, just that every other chapter that talked about like today, as you were writing the book, so all the events of today by month were going on by years. I'd never read anything like that, and it really did make you feel like you were actually like sitting next to you as you're writing it.
I want to thank Dave Jenkins, because we wanted, what the goal that we both set out to do was to make something different from everybody else.
Yeah.
But make it so you could draw reference to times and dates of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then also go, but hang on a minute, let's go back to Ray's book, because actually you put that date down.
Yeah.
And we went to great lengths to kind of be I mean, listen, we're not going to get it on the day and the time and the hour, but we did a lot of research. And I'd already written about 24,000 words before the book came out.
Wow.
That he took it over.
Yeah.
So I sent him what I had, and he actually had a reference.
Right.
And then I was like, I don't want you to ghostwrite this. I want to co-write this.
Yeah.
So and that's what we did.
Yeah.
And I feel that's a great achievement
Yeah,
for me.
mate, you've had an amazing life so far, and I think that book captures it really, really well, mate.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to the next few chapters.
Yeah,
eh?
like we've got some mad shizzle to be getting on with, and I'm really excited. I got an amazing creative team around me, and now I know what we've done and what we've achieved, and I'm looking at my peers of what they've achieved, and I'm like, well, you know, watch this space. Do you know what I mean? Watch this space. Thank you very
Love
much,
it.
everyone. We couldn't see any of the feed today. I don't know what's going on with anything. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Big shout out to Jay Cunning for coming
Thank you.
over and doing this. And
My pleasure,
yeah, it
mate.
was all unexpected. But thank you very much, brother.
Wicked, mate. Nice.
Don't forget, catch me Thursday with the Dreadcast 1 till 3.